In my opinion, this next policy is Kamala's most radical of them all. Leading economists have said that if it were implemented, it could trigger an economic doomsday. Hi, I'm Priscilla. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. In this video, I will be breaking down 3 of Kamala Harris's most extreme financial policies that you don't hear talked about in the mainstream media. Whether or not you like Kamala, I would just ask you to watch this video through to the very end before you make any comments. The first Harris financial plan that we should all be worried about is her proposal to ban grocery price gouging. There isn't a single American who hasn't felt the sting of the rising cost of groceries, and the latest data shows that grocery prices are up a little over 25% since November 2020. Kamala's proposal seeks to solve this problem by enabling the Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys generals to penalize companies that try to use their market leverage to sell goods or services at an excessive price. And what exactly the definition of excessive price is completely vague and left up to the FTC's discretion, which could, of course, lead to arbitrary and inconsistent enforcement. Atrocious isn't a strong enough word to describe this financial policy. This policy seeks to remove supply and demand as the major determining factors of price and profit, and instead replace them with government-enforced price controls. In this scenario, you would have the FTC, a federal agency, determining the price of bread in Kentucky and the price of a gallon of milk in California. This kind of heavy-handed interference distorts the natural workings of the market and could lead to the worst-case scenarios of shortages, hoarding, and black markets. We've seen these exact scenarios play out in countries like Venezuela and Argentina. Harris has accused grocery stores of earning excessive corporate profits. However, the data tells a different story. Grocery store profit margins have historically been slim, even during the height of pandemic when prices surged. At their highest point in 2020, profits peaked at 3% and have since fallen down to about 1.6% as of 2023. To put this into perspective, for every dollar spent, grocery stores are only earning about a penny or 2 in profit. These are not the kinds of profit margins that indicate price gouging. Instead, they reflect the razor-thin margins that grocery stores operate on in a highly competitive industry. If the government steps in with price controls based on false assumptions, it could force grocery stores to cut back on staffing, reduce their product offerings, or even close locations in less profitable areas, further reducing the access to affordable food. The real driver behind rising grocery prices is not corporate greed, but rather a combination of factors, including supply chain disruptions. Price controls will not address any of the underlying issues. The next Harris proposal I want to take a look at is the $25,000 subsidy to first-time homebuyers. For prospective homebuyers who have been shut out in recent years due to the highly competitive housing market, this may sound particularly attractive, but this proposal does not solve the problem and actually may make it worse. Economists have said that the reason why prices for homes have gone up so steeply in many parts of the United States is because there is a supply issue. There simply aren't enough homes for the people who are willing to buy. To Kamala's credit, she is also proposing to increase the supply of homes by offering a subsidy to construction companies that are building starter homes or affordable rental units. While this could help address the core supply problem over time, the $25,000 subsidy could also undermine these efforts. Since prospective buyers know that they'll have access to a $25,000 subsidy, it is likely that they will put in bids up to $25,000 more for a home. This would ultimately keep prices from falling. And in competitive markets where supply is already scarce, the added purchasing power would increase the demand without a corresponding increase in supply. This could trigger bidding wars, which would ultimately drive prices even higher and would make home ownership even less affordable to many. So while incentivizing the construction of starter homes is definitely a step in the right direction, it will take time to see those effects. In the meantime, the subsidy may lead to short-term price spikes, which negates its intended benefit and could ultimately leave many prospective homebuyers still unable to afford a home. Without a sustained significant increase in the housing supply, this policy risks being a short-term fix that doesn't address the deeper structural issues of the rising cost of homes. In my opinion, this next policy is Kamala's most radical of them all. Leading economists have said that if it were implemented, it could trigger an economic doomsday. It is her plan to tax unrealized capital gains at 25%. An unrealized gain occurs when the value of an asset that you have increases, but you have not yet sold that asset. For example, say you buy a share of a stock for $150 and then later on its value rises to $200. If you do not sell the asset, you would have an unrealized gain of $50, which is the difference between the purchase price and the stock's current market value. It's important to note that there is currently a tax on realized capital gains when you sell the asset. But generally in the United States, there is not a tax on unrealized capital gains. Kamala's policy proposes a 25% tax on unrealized capital gains on individuals worth $100 million or more. Now you may hear that number and think, okay, this only applies to the ultra rich. Why should I care? Let me tell you how this still impacts you. Many investors, especially those with significant unrealized gains, may not have the cash on hand to pay taxes on gains that they have not yet realized through a sale. For example, someone who holds lots of valuable stock or lots of property may not be able to pay the tax bill on that increase without also having sold the asset. This could force investors, particularly those who are asset rich but cash poor, to sell their assets ahead of time prematurely in order to be able to pay that tax. Now, if investors are forced to sell assets in order to pay the tax on unrealized gains, it could trigger fire sales where people are selling investments en masse in order to pay the tax. This could cause sudden market drops and lots of instability that would affect everybody, even those who are not directly impacted by the tax, so that's you and me. This large-scale liquidation could lead to broader declines in asset prices and reduce the overall value of investments across the board. On top of all of that, taxing unrealized gains creates significant uncertainty for investors as they could be taxed on paper gains that never materialize later on. This means that investors could end up paying taxes on temporary increases in an asset's value, which they may never actually see in the end if later on the asset's value declines. If the asset's value declines, they could face a financial loss having already paid the tax on that temporary increase. This disconnect really complicates long-term financial planning, and the unpredictability could deter investors from investing in volatile, high-risk assets. If you have made it this far in the video, you have earned yourself the right to leave a comment, positive or negative. And I just want to say I have nothing personal against Kamala. I just believe that we should be making a decision on who to vote for based on their policies, not based on race, gender, or any other type of characteristic. And yes, just in case you are wondering, to even things out, I will be releasing a similar video on Donald Trump's financial policy, so make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss that upload.